Greetings again from the Oral History Project. This is Ray Mofield. We're in Gilbertsville, and we're visiting in the home of Mr. Floyd Wade, and we're interviewing Mrs. Wade. She says that her friends call her Teet, and so I guess maybe we'll have to call her that. We're taping, and we're saving these recordings for the State Library in Frankfort, for the Murray State University Library, and of course a copy always remains here in Marshall County, where they can be checked out as a book, and presented all courtesy of WCBL Radio, Shelby McCallum, the owner. I'm starting off tonight, and I'm going to ask Mrs. Wade how old she is.
I'm 76 years old.
76, just a spring chicken here. How long have you lived at this place, Miss Wade?
I've lived in this vicinity all my life. I was born, you might say, at Gilbertsville, about 2 miles east of Gilbertsville. My parents moved a mile west of Gilbertsville when I was a year old.
Who were your parents?
My parents was Les and Rivers Owen.
And your mother, before she married, what was her name?
Her name was Skillion. Her father was Skillion. He was a fisherman, a riverman, and my father's people came, I don't know where my mother's father came from. I wasn't that familiar with him, but my father's people came from over in Webster County, we say?
Webster County. Well, that's fine. And I would guess that the Owen or the Owen's name either would be Scotch, and that, of course, is the British Isles, and, of course, nearly all of our people came from there. So you were born not too terribly far from here, and what did your dad do? Was he a farmer?
Yes, he was a farmer and a railroader. He worked for the Illinois Central Railroad, and there was 8 of children, and of course hard times back then, and they just, like it has been all down through the years, you had to do something else to supplement a living for the big family. But anyhow, we made it all through all those years by skimping. And my
Did you ever do any farm work?
Me?
Yes.
I certainly did. I've hoed many a row of corn in the river bottoms, barefooted on the old hard sun-baked river bottom ground.
And a gooseneck is not the best company in the world.
No, it sure isn't. This hot summer this year, and the ground being so dry and cracking open and all, reminded me of those fields years ago in that river bottom, how the ground would dry out and all crack open and curl up.
Your dad plowed with a team, and the mother and the children sometimes worked with a hoe.
We certainly did.
Well, did you go to school in this area?
Yes.
Was it a one-room country school?
Gilbertsville.
2 rooms?
Two rooms. It was 2 rooms at Gilbertsville.
So Gilbertsville was a city compared to where I live, way out in the country.
Well, you might say, just a little country town like.
But instead of just 1 room like I went to, you had 2 rooms.
We had an upstairs and a downstairs, that's
so
right.
So one teacher could teach, grades 1 through 4 maybe, and the other 5 through 8.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Right. Do you remember any of your teachers' names?
Trying to think. I went to Miss Zira Grubbs, and I'm trying to think to Miss Janora Cup. She later married Fred Philbeck. Everybody knows Janora Philbeck.
Oh, I remember her, yes.
And I believe Miss Zira Grubbs was my first teacher. Or perhaps Miss Lizzie Lee. Everybody ought to know Miss Lizzie Lee.
Mm-hmm.
I believe she was my first teacher.
Well, that's fine. Compared to me, you had kind of a metropolitan education. What did you like best in school?
I liked arithmetic, mathematics.
That was always what I didn't like, compared to poetry and spelling and reading and this and that. But we're talking about you now. You went to this school, and were there any special incidents that you can remember that were funny that happened at school? Or did you ever have to put your nose in the ring on the blackboard?
I imagine it did, because if there's anything going on, why, I was usually right in the middle of it. Oh, I can't remember anything right now offhand to tell you
All right.
that would be very funny. Now, there's a lot of things that happened, but I can't remember anything right now.
All right. Now, when you got out of your classes, of course, you had recess. Do you remember any games you played?
Oh, it's always two-eyed cat ball and drop the handkerchief, ring around the rosy, and all.
Basketball.
Yeah, I played basketball. I've had a many a skinned knee. We had a ball court out in the yard, and of course the gravel was out there, and we'd fall down and skin our elbows and our knees and our noses.
But they grew back, and you
Oh,
went right
yes.
ahead.
Yes.
Marshall County's always seemed to love basketball.
We certainly did.
Played on an outdoor court in the early days, and then, of course, finally got gymnasiums here and there.
When I got on up in the 7th and 8th grade, we would walk the railroad to Grand Rivers to play basketball over there.
Mm-hmm.
Now we'd ride the passenger train over there. Is that right? 36?
No, we walked over there, man. You're right.
Ride 36 and walk back. Well, anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
To Grand Rivers and play basketball over there and then walk back. Now that's how anxious we were to play ball.
Yeah.
So.
It made it funnier to have an outside opponent.
Oh yes, and we'd play Calvert City and different ones and all.
And you had a lot of community spirit because everybody wanted Gilbertsville to win.
Oh yes, naturally.
All right, now, when you finished school, did you wait a long time to get married, or did you get married pretty soon
Well,
after
let me
that?
back up on my school business now. I went to school at Gilbertsville through the 8th grade.
Yes, sir.
And I took the test.
At the county school
Got
superintendent's
my-
office, became a teacher.
No, I went to Calvert. Had to go to Calvert City to take the 8th grade examination. Got my diploma, and I went on to high school. I went 2 years high school at Gilbertsville. We only had a 2-year high school then.
Mhm.
Some of our dear citizens didn't think we was ready for a 4-year high school at Gilbertsville yet then, and we could not vote a tax to get the money to build our 4-year high school.
Sounds like 1983, doesn't
Or 81 or 2.
it? Yeah.
Anyhow, I had our Gilbertsville pupils. We went up here at Gilbertsville for 2 years. Then we'd go to Calvert or Benton or somewhere to finish up.
Mm-hmm.
I lived a mile below Gilbertsville, and I would walk a mile every morning up to Gilbertsville to the railroad station, catch a passenger train, ride in order to ride 4 miles to Calvert City to go to school.
You remember what it cost?
Well, my father worked for the railroad company,
So you
and
had
I got a pass.
Oh, great.
And then I'd get on a train at Calvert City at 4 o'clock of the evening, ride to Gilbertsville. Now, understand, I'd ride by my home, on by, get off that train, walk that mile back home. So there's 2 miles each day that I walk past, ride by my home. Where
But that
it
was
usually.
better than an 8-mile walk, wasn't it? So,
Well, I guess so.
So you-
Sometimes if I missed the train, I had some ride to get to school that day.
So you finished high school.
I
Well,
finished high
that
school
was
at
a considerable education for that day, wasn't it?
Well, yes. I considered myself lucky.
There was no college at Murray then. They didn't open till the fall of 23. I know that. So
Well, now don't make me any older than what I am. I graduated from high school in 1925.
25.
1925.
But I guess it seemed like a long way over to Murray at that point.
Well, yes. The last half of year in my high school, I went to Bowling Green, to the university up there,
Mm-hmm.
and did my last half year of high school and worked me off a secondary, I believe that's what you call it, teacher certificate
Mm-hmm. Well,
while I was there.
did you ever teach any?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
That summer,
Tell us about that.
well, that summer, of course, there wasn't nothing available in Marshall County, and I went to Livingston County. Miss Mamie Ferguson was the superintendent of Livingston County Schools. I applied for a job in Livingston County, and I got a school over there on the highest hill in Livingston County, Tucker's Temple School.
Did you have to climb that hill every day?
No, it so happened that I got a place to board that was kind of up on the same level with that on top of that hill. But I only stayed 2 months. I couldn't take it. That was, of course, even only a stone's throw across the river from home here, but I didn't want it. I had a husband in mind.
Oh,
And-
now we know the reason. Yeah.
And
You were
his
in
job
love.
brought him back closer to Gilbertsville and around this vicinity. So I just quit the school and come home to Mama.
When did you first meet him?
Oh gosh, when we was going to school in the grade, I went with this guy for 4 years before I married him.
So,
1918, Mother. Or
He
17.
moved here in 1918 from over around Owensboro, Deanfield, Kentucky.
hmm
And we were married in 1926.
First time you ever saw him, your heart didn't flutter then.
No, I didn't have a heart attack until this year.
Okay. But you just gradually decided you liked him more and more, and you just didn't want to stay away from him. So you came back, and what year was it you married?
1926.
1926. Very good. Did you ever teach after that any?
No, I didn't have any desire to go back and teach anymore.
Well, how many children did you have?
I have 8 children. One is deceased.
And you still have 7 living.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know at least one of them, and that's Katie Condor.
Well,
So
I have. Oh, you don't.
where
know.
do the others live? Are they around here or off somewhere?
I have one living in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, a daughter. I have my oldest son lives at Central City, and I have a son living in Seattle, Washington, and the rest of them live in Marshall County.
Tell us what the stores were like around Gilbertsville back then. Do you remember who ran a store or anything like that?
Yes. Mr. Jim Provine had a grocery store here,
Counselor store, Mother.
and Mr. Helsley
Mm-hmm.
had a grocery store here. Miss Addie Chestnut had a grocery store here, and she also was ticket agent at the depot. We had a depot here at the railroad.
It was sad to see passenger service stop to me
Yeah,
on these
That is-
railroads, but of course, time passed them by and they didn't have much business, so naturally they had to quit, I guess.
that's true.
I know the little NC in St. L that ran through Hardin used to have a lot of trains on it. Eventually, of course, they had to stop.
Mhm.
But it was a part of American life that we missed. Were there ever any, well, let's say, was there ever a car dealer here?
Oh, yes.
What was your first automobile? You remember that?
Hmm.
Or did you learn to drive?
Oh, yes. I learned to drive a T-model, I guess.
On a Model T Ford, the three
Yeah.
pedals in the floor.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I could, and I learned that when it wouldn't start, I could jack up that back wheel and get out and crank the old Lizzie and make it go.
You have driven a Model T. I can see that. My first car was a Model T.
Yeah.
It was 10 years old when I bought it in '37. Gave $35 for it. Too much money, I guess. But I drove it, I don't know how many thousand miles, all the way through high school.
But we, Gilbertsville built up some. We had several stores here. One time we had a funeral home here. We had a doctor here. We had a bank here.
Well, that made a very fine all-around community with a physician and a bank, a funeral home, so on.
That built up on down until they came and bought things, bought it all out in order to build the dam till TVA came in. And
That was about 1938, wasn't it? They started building
37 and 38.
Kentucky
Uh-huh.
Dam.
Uh-huh.
Then, of course, you had a lot of people moved in here,
Oh, yes,
but many of the businesses had to move, and they
Ev-
never reestablished. Did
No.
Like the bank did not come back.
what little bit reestablished did down in this lower part along through here where we live now.
Mhm.
But there's nothing here now. It's all gone. This is mostly just...
Residential.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, that's true of nearly all small country towns, of course. Well, do you remember anything about what was a big trip and thrilling to you in those days? That, let's say, going over to Benton on big singing. Did you ever do
Oh,
that?
yes. We went to big singing.
Did
Several
you
times.
sing with them, or
No,
you just went to
no.
show off your new dress?
Yeah, usually.
Okay. My mother used to say that they'd get a new dress and it'd be along about Easter in there somewhere in the early spring, and then of course they wear that to big singing. You hat maybe.
Yeah, I went to big singing. I went to Tater Day back then, and several things
What
like
did your
that.
husband do? You said your your father was farmer and worked on the IC Railroad.
Well, he was worked at Public Work. He's just been a farmer over the last, I don't know, I'd say 25, 30 years, actually farming. He's always worked at Public Work. He was a tank builder, an iron worker, welder, and like that, and worked away from home, but then,
So he had skilled trades. And
yeah.
so
Hmm.
he didn't. You didn't pull up and go to Detroit and build T models.
No, he didn't last long on that. I think he tried that out at one time, but didn't last long on that.
A good
He
many
got-
West Kentuckians.
That's true. But
went away.
then he was away from home quite a bit on this public work and all this is going on, and he decided, well, one time he said, "Mom, we're going home." we're either going to make it there on the farm or we'll starve to death together. So here we are. We're still a living.
And you haven't starved yet?
No, we haven't. So he come home and bought him up some hogs, and he's been in the hog business now for about close to 25 years. So that's his hobby, raising hogs, and he does some farming, has in all these years. But anyhow, we're still here on the farm.
Have you ever traveled very much when you were growing up? Did you have a pass, you said? Did you ride up to Louisville maybe? Or?
Uh-huh. I didn't travel a lot, but different places. I've been several places to Louisville and around like that and all.
Did you ever ride in an airplane?
One time, out here. But not no big trip. Wasn't no big deal. It was just from out here at the airport. And
that was quite a thrill, wasn't it?
Well, yes, yeah. We sailed around over, looked down in this big limestone hole over here across the river. Now that is something seen. That's been several years back that we flew over that. We've traveled more in the last several years than we ever did, though. We took a trip cross country to Seattle to visit with our son out there just a few years back, and then a few years before that, we went took a trip all out of the West.
Was that the year of the World's Fair, maybe, out there?
Oh, no.
Yeah, Mom, we went to World's Fair in 33.
Well, in Chicago, we went up there, but we traveled on train to go up there to Chicago.
You went to Chicago in 33?
With the World's Fair.
Well, that is 50 years ago, wasn't it?
I guess.
Did you see Sally Rand and the fan dance?
No, I don't know what she's there or not.
Well, that was the big feature that year. So I read.
No, I don't. No, we didn't see her.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you remember your first radio?
No, I don't remember our first. I remember when we was living with, as before we married. I remember my mother buying the first radio. I don't know what year that would be, though.
Had you been some neighbors to hear radio before you got one?
Yes. I remember we used to go up to Gilbertsville to Dr. Carter's and listen to the radio, and I seemed like it'd be ball games or something going on, and we'd go there and listen to the radio. But I don't know what year. I've forgotten what year it would be.
Do you remember any of your favorite programs from back in the golden days of radio? Did you listen to Burns and Allen and
Yep.
Amos and Andy and
Oh,
Lum and
yes.
Abner?
Lum and Abner and all that bunch.
Yeah. National Barn Dance, maybe? Grand Ole Opry and so forth? Had a lot of good programming back then. And some of it still lasts up till today, I guess. Well, tell us, I'd like to learn a little bit more about your children. I don't think you... now, Katie became a school teacher and married Reed Conder.
Yeah.
And he's the county school superintendent, of course, so I suppose everybody knows him in Marshall County area. You said you had a son lives in Seattle. What does he do?
But he works at a factory of some kind. I don't know just what. He did work at a Kenworth truck plant where they build these big
trucks on earth.
Yeah. That's where he works, up there. One of our sons and our daughter at Lawrenceburg, her husband works, he's in the control tower out the airport.
That's quite a...
And our oldest son at Central City is medically retired now. And he worked, well, what did he do? What they call it? Operator. He was one of the chief operators out at the plant there, TVA plant out at the Paradise Steam Plant. He helped open that plant up there. Then our next boy down is driving a school bus right now for Mr. Condor. He did work down at the plant down here, but he was laid off, so he has that job now. One boy, our youngest son, works at one of the plants at Calvert City, and this daughter that's home here with us right now works on for Southern Barge Line. What is it, Marion? Towing company
Mm-hmm.
on the Mississippi River.
River transport's quite an industry in this part of the world, of course.
Well, now that's what she does.
I'd like to ask you, when you were growing up, did your mother and dad make any special efforts to keep you from getting sick? What were some of the home remedies maybe that they used back then? Did you ever have mustard and goose grease put on your chest?
Yes, and I've worn acidity bag around my neck.
There you go.
And I've
That kept everybody away.
yes, and if any of us stuck a nail in her foot or scratched the least bit, why, Mama always would wash it off with kerosene.
Mm-hmm. I've been through those things.
I can't think of
good.
all those old
Did you ever
home
take
remedies.
any sassafras tea in the spring?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Kept your blood good and thin, I suppose.
And
Drink catnip tea?
oh yes, and I've given that to all of my children.
What'd you do it for?
I don't know. That was just a remedy.
I remember my mother giving me catnip tea, but I've forgotten what it was for.
It'll just
Did it make you go to sleep or
it is
what?
soothing for babies, they'd always say. I know my family doctor, he'd always laugh. He'd say, well, Pete, give 'em a little catnip tea and that'll quieten them down, I guess. So it did.
So even the physicians recommended it.
I remember, now one funny thing, I remember that my children got the itch at school one time.
Mm.
And I was living at Mama's, and I made some poke root tea.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that's mighty hot. Well, I would bathe them in that poke root tea. And I thought, well, if one bath a day would do, maybe 2 or 3 would do a little better. So I would give them 2 or 3, and I cooked them almost. So I took them to the doctor. I don't guess I should say which doctor, but anyhow, he said, oh, my sister says you've cooked these kids.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I had. Then I had to cure them of being cooked. So that was the end of the poke root tea.
Well, what'd you give them then? Slippery elm bark to soothe make a balm or something?
I can't remember what the remedy was. I think he may have fixed up some kind of salve and give it to me to put on them.
Yeah.
And all.
Well, we just about run out of time. I'd like for you to say anything you'd like specially to get on before we sign off. You have anything special you'd like to say? Well, if you don't have anything along that line, then what do you think has changed most about life since you were a young girl that you like the most? Well,
I don't know how to
let me ask you this
ask
then.
me a question.
What's changed the most that you like the least? We talk about the good old days. What is good about them? Neighbors were friendlier, were they? And did you go to next door to sit till bedtime, and
Yes, we did that, where we don't now. We don't know our neighbors, the majority of them now.
well, that part of life we don't like as well as we used to then, do we?
I don't think so. That's right. Really, we don't know our neighbors now.
I grew
like
up
we
out
did
in the
back
country
then.
and we didn't have electricity. Now, that's the thing I like the most, is having electricity.
Well, that helps a little bit now, I'll tell you. So
Until you got electricity on the farm, you lived just like Daniel Boone did, didn't you?
that's true.
The telephone.
Yeah.
However, we depend on gas quite a bit too.
Yeah.
So
Well, I have at least one more question I'd like to ask. I've heard a story that you sort of epitomize elections around Gilbertsville, that you've been working as a precinct at the polling stations here for a long, long time. Is that true?
well, yes, if my memory serves me right, I'm pretty sure that I've been helping hold the election here at least 30 years. Could be more, but it's at least 30 years anyway.
So you go way back before the days of the voting machines, to
Yes,
the paper
yes,
ballot.
paper ballot. Been here at least 30 years. Could be more, but it's at least 30 years anyway.
So you go way back before the days of the voting machines, to
Yes,
the paper
yes,
ballot
paper ballot.
era.
Jack Gray and me.
Well, very good. Did you've been sick some this year, and did you miss the last election?
Yes, I had to miss the election, but I voted.
Well,
I might say I got out of the bed and went to vote.
did anybody comment on the fact that you weren't there, if they'd been seeing you for so long?
Well, the ones that is working, the one that was working in my place commented, won't know where I'd been, said everybody that come in that day won't know where I'd been, and I'd been there so long that they really missed me, said I must have a lot of friends round down in this part of the country, so I guess I have at that.
You become a fixture at the polling precinct in Gilbertsville. Well, that's good, and it's good to know that you are missed. Well, we're going to have to say goodbye for now. Do you have any last word for us?
I don't think so.
Well, thank you very much for inviting us into our home, to your home, and we've been visiting in Gilbertsville, Kentucky, at the home of Mrs. Floyd, better known as Teet to her close friends, Wade. This is Ray Mofield speaking for WCBL Radio. A copy of this tape will be available at Murray State, at the State Archives in Frankfort, and at the library in Marshall County. We return you now to our studios.